Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Navigating Uncharted Waters. As you know, orientation is online again this summer, and we are working to bring you the most normal orientation experience possible. This first part of our presentation is pre-recorded, and we will have a live Q&A session at the end. So as we go along, jot your questions down. My name is Carter Fenwick, and I am the Associate Director of Parent and Family Programs.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lauren Thorne. I am one of the Associate Deans in the Dean of Students Office and very excited to be here with you today.
Hello, I'm Valerie Kistler-Van Reed, Director of the Center for Counseling and Student Development.
Good afternoon, everyone. I said good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Gray, and I'm the Director for Disability Support Services, and I've been at ECU for about 29 years now. And I love this title because it talks about navigating uncharted waters. And it is something that you're stepping into waters that you've not been to, and your son or daughter is doing those exact same things. We have some experts on this panel today that are going to talk you through some of those things that you really wish you knew, or some of the questions you may ask. So during the presentation, as Carter said, if you have any questions, please write them down as we move along. One of the things that I have to address very directly is that this is going to be the safest and healthiest orientation session because all of us are vaccinated. So we're good to go on that part of it. But also, the elephant in the room is talking about COVID as your students come to the fall of at ECU, and we are addressing that. ECU is looking at it from a health perspective as well as the safety of your son and daughter. So please know that we're doing everything that we can to make sure that experience is as welcoming and as enjoyable as humanly possible. But I want to tell you one thing too as we transition to this next slide, and just understand this, and parents, as you're looking at this, please repeat after me. We did
the best.
The best we could.
Because you cannot possibly do any more than you have already done. You have already given your son or daughter the strength, the physicality, the emotion, the spirituality of addressing life away from home. And that's sort of what this is all about, isn't it? As we transition from high school into the college setting, it is about letting go and looking at those uncharted waters and what that's going to do for your son or daughter. And please know that you did everything that you could. It's our turn to address those issues as we move forward. So we look forward to this presentation. And if you have any questions, please write them down. We'll get to them at the end. Thank you.
All right, so as we open up, I want you to take just a moment, take a deep breath. I know this is a stressful time. There's a lot going on. And I want you to think about two separate words, okay? The first word that I want you to kind of think about, or maybe jot down, or say to your partner, your other family member, or parent that you're sitting there with watching this video. I want you to choose one word that exemplifies how you're feeling in this moment. All right, just sort of take a moment and think, how am I feeling? What is the emotion, the kind of the different feelings that I'm having lately, and how would I categorize that? What's one word that could kind of encapsulate that? And then I want you to think of that second word, which is, how is your student feeling? How is your student reacting and responding to all of this? And so we've done this presentation together for years. We typically have a live audience where we can, have them shout it out. And so normally when we ask parents, how are you feeling? We hear everything from, I'm excited, I am ready, I am proud of my student, I'm so happy for them. I am, if you gave me the opportunity, I would leave them here today because we are ready for this next step. And but then we also hear from parents, I am nervous, I'm scared, I'm apprehensive. This is one of those challenging times where I just don't know if I'm necessarily prepared for this next step, and this is my baby. I'm not ready to let go. And honestly, both of those perspectives are completely valid, and everything in between. It's actually normal for our parents to kind of go from one end of the spectrum to the other throughout the months and the weeks leading up to this transitional time frame. But then for our students as well, what we see is, this roller coaster ride of emotions. As you were thinking about your student, you may be thinking about the graduation parties that you're planning or that you've attended, those big milestone moments that you've been able to celebrate. And so you may see your student just feeling very excited, very just ready to hit that next stage. They're independent, they're prepared, but then some of you may be picking up on some tentativeness. They may be hesitant, they may be acting uncertain. All of a sudden the student that seemed to just really be confident in knowing exactly how to navigate their day is now second guessing things like, am I sure I want to take this class? Do you really think this residence hall is the best spot for me? And really sort of going through this guessing game of trying to figure everything out. And so again, we want to normalize that. That is so a part of this process. There is no one right way to react or respond to this type of change. And so one of the things that we'd like to encourage is having conversations with your students and kind of checking in with them, sort of going, okay, we've had a lot of scheduled stuff lately with family. How are you feeling about this? How are you feeling about the upcoming graduation ceremony? Not quite what we expected, right? Like it's not quite the same as sort of a pre-pandemic graduation, but how are you doing with sort of this new version? And then being able to discuss and have those conversations with them, which will really lay the groundwork and set the stage for those important conversations that you want to continue once your student is at school. And so Carter's going to take on the next slide, which is going to help us explore a little bit about different parenting styles.
So yes, we're talking about different parenting styles. You may be a helicopter parent. You may be a snowplow, lawnmower, or curling parent where you have that urge to really clear that path and make, perfect, clean path for your student to walk and to travel. And we understand that urge, but we know that this is not necessarily helping them. Your child has been your number one investment of your time and your energy for the past 18 or so years. And so it's a challenge to really start letting them go and letting them grow on their own. To begin with this major transition and not jumping to save them every single day, we really encourage you to do, some small things this summer to teach them to grow. Some of these things include let them do their own laundry. Teach them how to do that. When they're here, laundry is going to be on them. Their resident advisor does not do that for them. So they will have to be doing that. Have them set their own alarms for the rest of the school year, depending on when the school year ends for school. Because again, when they're here, they're going to have to set their own alarm to get up and go to classes. Sit down and show them how to budget their money, because you're not going to be over their shoulder saying, no, you can't really, afford that $18 meal right now. So those are some small things that you can be doing over this summer to help them go and grow on their own. During the summer when your student is on campus, we recommend that you, instead of being a helicopter parent or being a curling parent or that lawnmower parent, we encourage you to be an umbrella parent or an umbrella family. So this is a really great way to be involved, but still have, give your student that space to grow. So an umbrella family or an umbrella parent is one where you stand next to your student, not in front of them, not behind them, but next to them, holding the umbrella for them. So that way their hands are free to experience life at ECU. With their hands free, they get to learn, make mistakes, and grow on their own, but with your support with that umbrella next to them. So on the next slide, I'll dive a little bit deeper into that topic. But first, we do need to talk about your self-care. This year has been insane, to say the least. Everything that we've experienced over the past year and a half has been a challenge. And so this summer will be difficult. This summer will be another challenge, and in some ways will be even more difficult than other summers, that a normal summer, I use quotations over normal, and this summer will be difficult. You may be feeling a sense of loss. You may be feeling like you're losing your sense of purpose with your child coming to ECU and coming to college. So it's important to take care of yourself as well as taking care of your student during this summer and during this time of transition. Some of the ways that we encourage you to take care of yourself is talk about your feelings. Talk about how you're feeling with your significant other. They may be feeling the same way. Talk about your friends, especially if they're a friend who has a student going through this transition. They will understand. Talk about it with family. Don't bottle it up. And then also begin exploring some new hobbies and how you're going to fill this time. You're not going to be taking your student to softball practice or going to their softball games. So how are you going to fill that time, especially if you're going to be an empty nester? Figure out what you're going to do with all of that free time. So now we're going to go to the next slide and talk about how you can be involved with your student without being that helicopter parent. And so I mentioned the umbrella parent and how being that umbrella parent, you have your umbrella, which to support your student is the information and resources that you can learn to support your student. That is your umbrella. So a couple of ways that you can stay involved while giving your student that separation to grow and to learn on their own is by joining our parent and family portal. This is my favorite resource that we have for students or for parents and family members because it's so robust and it gives you so many options to stay involved with campus and to learn about everything that's going on. Through this portal, you can join different communities based on your interests, based on where you are. We have some out-of-state communities. We have communities based on your students' years, so freshman, sophomore, junior, senior years. So you get to join these different communities, and you also get to personalize newsletters, email newsletters that come in. You can say, I want one once a week. I want one once a month. I want one daily. So this gives you a lot of opportunity to personalize the information you want to know. As well as this portal gives you the option to connect with your student, which is a newer feature and we're very excited about. So this is a very valuable resource for you this summer, as well as through the time that your student is here. It won't go away. This resource will be with you through the entire time. If you're looking to get more involved, you can take a look at our Captain Society, as well as following us on social media. We share a bunch of information and resources day to day. You're on social media, so you might as well stay connected with us. While you're there, we have a really awesome program called Pirate Parents Live, where we use Facebook Live to bring different presenters and panelists to discuss topics like academic success, mental health, financial wellness, and more. My co-presenters here have all been a part of Pirate Parents Lives in the past and in the future, so they're pretty great, and I like them a lot, both the program and my co-presenters. And based on a survey that we're currently running within the Office of Parent and Family Programs, so far 91% of our parents and family members say that they have talked to their student about a topic or reminded them of a deadline or something, had a conversation with their student based on something they saw on the portal, the newsletter, and social media. So this is a really, really great and useful resource to use throughout the time, but especially this summer. This summer, there are going to be many important conversations that you need to have and you will have with your student where you're gauging whether or not they're really ready for college and ready for this next step in their lives. And so on the next slide, Valerie and Stephen are going to talk about what a prepared student looks like and what an unprepared student looks like.
Okay, so let's first talk about a student who might not quite be ready for college. What we might see from them is that they struggle to make decisions. So I think Lauren talked about this a little bit earlier, they may be looking around to everyone else for information or to make those decisions for them. Or they might be going to college for the wrong reason. So they might be going just because they're not sure what else to do, or they're doing it to please family, or they might just kind of think of it as 13th grade. And all of those things can really lead to a sense of being directionless, which can affect their motivation when they're trying to get up for that 8 a.m. class. So helping your student kind of sort through what college means to them may help with their motivation overall. They also may be struggling to manage important tasks. Carter talked earlier about having them do their own laundry and things like that. So the summer is a really good time to help them learn how to practice some good and better habits. And finally, as you're talking with them over the summer and helping them get ready, it's important to talk with them about when to ask for help and where they can seek help. We'll talk a little bit more about the resources on campus later. But another thing that can be really important is that they learn how to hold themselves accountable, so that they're not, I guess, kind of reporting to you, but they're learning to hold themselves accountable in terms of schoolwork, getting to class on time, and things like that. All right, now Stephen will talk a little bit about what a student who is prepared for college might look like.
Thanks, Valerie. I just realized that I was not ready to go to college. And so just by what you were defining, but I learned it. And so we don't know your sons or daughters out there. We don't know if they're ready or not ready. And so some of the tips that we look for, if they are prepared, are these. Are they moving towards adulthood? Are they making their own decisions? Are they being independent, taking responsibility for who they are as a young adult? A lot of times we will look at our sons or daughters and go, they're really not an adult. They can't make those decisions. Or, man, they got this. They're up, they're self-reliant, they are taking that responsibility on to work on time, to make sure that their nutrition is right, to staying healthy during this whole time frame. Is that your son or daughter? Those are some of the things that we don't know, but we are assuming that you do. Also, one of the things that we look for too is having that global view, because at East Carolina University, that's one of the 7 pillars, is having that globalization view of being responsible for looking at other cultures, looking at different people, and treating them as a universal type of design in learning. And that's sort of what we are looking for all students. And they also, one of the things key is recognizing why they're here. Are they coming here just because their best friend came here? Are they coming here just because their sister is a legacy here? Maybe that's it, and that's okay. But if they're prepared for college, they're realizing that they can get an excellent, wonderful education here at East Carolina University because they believe in themselves. They're advocating for themselves. They're engaged in their coursework by themselves. They're not just doing the homework, but they're engaged in the classroom. They're engaged in that expression of knowledge. They're engaged in one-on-one with faculty members to learn what it is about being a college professor and learning what it is to be in college. They're not afraid. Fear I have an acronym for fear, freshmen entering academic reality. And your son or daughter, if they're prepared for college, is doing exactly that. Is that your son or daughter? Those are some of the things that you have to have in your own mind frame. And as we transition over to Carter, we're going to just get you to think about that just for a little bit, because we don't know. But welcome.
So we are going to listen to a couple of phone calls. These are some example phone calls that you could possibly hear from your student. So this first one is just a student talking to a family member about the struggles of adjusting to campus life. You know, it's not what they're used to, and the classes are difficult. So we're going to listen and then talk about how to respond.
Hello?
Hi, Mom.
Oh, honey, what's wrong? Are you crying?
Gonna make it a little bit louder. There we go.
Crying?
Mom, I just don't know if I can do this anymore. Nothing here feels like home.
Oh, honey, don't cry. We're just an hour away. Why doesn't it feel like home?
It's just so different. I have to share a bathroom with other girls. The food isn't like yours. And the bed doesn't feel like mine. My roommate and I just don't seem to have a lot in common. Everything's just so different.
I thought you liked your roommate.
I mean, I do. She's nice. But, we just have different interests. I thought we'd be like best friends like you see in the movies. But she just does different things. She's not like my friends I have at home. I just feel like I'm in a whole different world since college started. And it's so hard to figure out how to study for my classes. You know that I really didn't have to study much in high school.
Well, college is different from high school. But remember that tutoring place we heard about at orientation? What was the name of that again? Maybe they could give you some tips.
You mean the Pirate Academic Success Center? But that's not what I mean. It just feels really hard, and I wonder if I'll be able to make this all work and be successful. I just don't know what to do.
Okay, so that's a phone call. Yeah, we're nodding. That's one that we can certainly relate to. And I think the mom does a nice job of trying to normalize some of the experiences and challenges of her daughter. And the nice thing is she doesn't jump in and rescue her. She doesn't say, oh, honey, come home, right? She's sticking in there with her, talking about, yeah, college is different. College is a challenge. The classes are harder, and you will have to study here. And so all of those things are really important to point out because every aspect of life is changing. The food is different, as she points out. Where she sleeps is different. Socializing is different. Academics are different. And so as a family member, you want to point out that you're there to support them and recognize that they're going through some pretty significant changes. So both of those things are important at the same time. You can also a little bit, I think, make that adjustment to encouraging them to talk about what might be going well instead of kind of getting stuck in kind of all the negative and the difficulty. Help them talk about maybe things that they enjoy. And again, getting back to that, the change and the differences and all of that, those are all necessary for part of that growth that Stephen talked about early on.
So our next phone call is going to be about a student who is worried about a friend who may not be handling the transition to college very well. And so we're going to listen and then discuss how to respond.
Hello?
Hey, Aunt Susie.
Oh, hey, honey. It's good to hear your voice. We really miss you, but, is everything okay?
Not really. It's Nick. Again. I just don't know what to do.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry, sweetie. Well, tell me what's going on now, and I'll see if I can help.
Okay. I really don't even know where to begin, honestly. I mean, he's not one of my closest friends, but I feel like something's wrong. He hardly ever leaves his room, and I think he's been missing his classes. One of my other friends said he hadn't seen Nick in English class for weeks.
Now, that doesn't sound too good. Have you tried to talk to him?
I mean, kind of, but I really don't know how. I text him and I ask him to do stuff, but he either doesn't reply or says no. And I picked up a flyer for the counseling center and took it to him. I told him where it was, and it was free. I even said it was cool, and I asked him if he wanted to check it out with me. But I guess he wasn't interested.
Well, I want you to know I'm very proud of you for doing that. Maybe he's just private or needs more encouragement to do things with the rest of the group.
Well, Aunt Susie, there's another thing. I think he's been drinking a lot more than he used to. I'm really worried that he might be depressed or something and needs help. What do I do?
Okay, so this is another call or situation that we certainly do hear about at the counseling center. We do have students who come to us because they're concerned about a roommate, a friend, or a boyfriend or girlfriend. And so I think the aunt in this situation does a nice job of I guess, recognizing the efforts that her nephew has gone through to support his friend, got the flyer for the counseling center, tried to encourage him. And certainly the caring that he has for his friend is there too. What becomes really important, and this is something for you to think about as family members, is that you don't want your student taking on the responsibility to care for somebody else, and nobody has that expectation here at ECU. And so instead, what you want to do is encourage your student to provide that support and caring, and then connect them with other resources on campus, and help them set those boundaries so that they're not taking on too much. Sometimes we have students who care so much they are actually kind of jeopardizing something of their own academics in order to kind of look out for or care for a friend. Again, that is not expected. So trying to get them connected with those resources is really important. One resource is ECU Cares. And so for that, a student can make a report on a student of concern, and then the Dean of Students Office will reach out to them, talk with the student about what might be going on, let them know somebody on campus is concerned about them, and then connect them to the appropriate resources, which is often the counseling center, maybe financial aid, and other resources on campus. So at the Counseling Center, we do have crisis services daily from 8 to 5. Students can reach out and consult about a crisis situation that they're having. And then after hours, we're also accessible. So if a student has an emergency after hours, they can call our number and select option 2, and that will connect them with a crisis counselor. So as we look at the resources, we've talked about some of the knowing what your limitations are. We talked about ECU Cares. Within the Counseling Center, we do provide ongoing therapy services in addition to the crisis services that I mentioned. And then your son or daughter should also be, or your student should be hearing about some educational information that will be made available to them over the summer and into the beginning of the fall semester, called the Pirate Safety in My Student Body module. And what those are is they're really modules or educational opportunities for them to get information about alcohol and other drug safety and mental health concerns. So your student will be required to do those, and it's really good kind of baseline information for them to have for themselves, as well as for helping and supporting their friends or roommates. And also, you can follow Counseling Center social media to learn out about more information regarding our Counseling Center services. So those are just a few of the resources that are available on campus to support your student.
One of the things I wanted to jump in and share was that our campus living professional staff are fantastic. That we actually have campus living coordinators for each residence hall. Those are master's level professionals who live in the residence halls and are available to help provide that extra layer of support. And so oftentimes, because they are right there where the students are living and coming and going each day, they can pick up on patterns and routines and be able to check in with them as well. So that's a great resource to remember as well. And the coordinator should be reaching out to your student, or you'll meet them at move-in and drop-off, and so you'll be able to kind of make a connection with that additional support person too. So I think we got one last phone call. So Carter, you want to take this?
Yes. So this last phone call will be the one that you will most likely get the most often. So we will listen and discuss.
Hello. Hey, Mom. Hey, honey. How's my girl doing today? Great. Sorry I missed your call earlier. I was at dinner with people from my floor. Nice. You're doing okay then? Yeah, everything has been great. We're going to an event over in the Student Center in a bit, and this weekend we might head up to North Rec and take the kayaks out. And making time to study too, right? Of course. My math course is a little tough, but I think I'll be okay if I put the work in. There's a lot of places to get help too, if I need it. How are things at home? Good. Your sister's keeping us busy. She has a game tomorrow, and she was invited to the dance after the football game on Saturday, so we're going shopping. Grandma and Grandpa send their love and said to call them when you can. I'll call them this weekend. I miss y'all. We miss you too, a lot. But I'm so glad to hear things are going well. It sounds like you're having a great time. I am. I really am glad I decided to come here. Oh, my friend Missy is here. We're going to head to the Student Center now. I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Love you more.
I just love
I know. It's such a great reminder and a great point to make. Think about those extended family members, think about the siblings. Everyone's going to go through an adjustment, but we do truly, we've all got this. We can make that change, and it's wonderful for students to still be able to check in with those family members and hear from them and be able to keep up with their lives as well. So think about that, especially this summer, setting aside some special time for siblings to spend some time together and to think about how that is going to affect them as well in the house. All right. So I wanted to go over really quickly a few of the common misconceptions we hear from students and family members. Many parents are like, I was a student back in the 70s or the 80s. I remember what ECU was like, and so I'm sure it's just like that now, right? And believe it or not, a few things have changed. And so we just wanted to take a couple minutes to review some of those changes or some of the most common misconceptions we hear from those family members. One is that, ECU has this blanket excused absence policy that it covers every single class out there. And in actuality, each faculty member is able to set their own absence policy. And that is why it's really important for students to read the syllabi at the beginning of the semester and have a very clear idea of what the expectations are. Of course, there are university excused absences, a process that is set by the Faculty Senate and processed by the Dean of Students Office for those personal and family emergency situations. But realistically, each faculty member will have a couple of days built in where if students need to miss class because they're sick or something happens, and we really do encourage them to reserve it for those emergencies and not just to finish the latest Netflix binge. We also know that many parents are coming from situations where you're accustomed to maybe having a power school access where you can see every grade in the grade book and every absence and, a clear idea of sort of what the classroom expectations are. And unfortunately, that just doesn't exist at the college level. Carter talked about the parent portal, which will allow you with FERPA kind of sign off that you'll be able to get access to end of semester grades. But as far as that mid-semester check-in, that is really going to be from your student. And so it's important to talk about the expectations for grades and set those expectations early on so that students understand both, what you're anticipating as well as how you want that information communicated and talking about that regularly. Unfortunately, campus living cannot locate your student at a drop of a hat. I kind of joke like we don't pass out the GPS trackers at move-in, and so really the best way of keeping track of your student is giving them one of these, right? We want to make sure that their phones are charged, that they've got plenty of charging cables, and so usually when a student goes MIA, it is because their phone has died or it took a swim in the pool or whatever the case may be. So just make sure that, again, your student knows that when you're trying to get up with them, there are multiple ways of communicating that and kind of what those expectations are. And then you heard in one of the calls, this idea that, I did really well in high school, so I thought I could just, transition that over to college. And that is not always the case. Sometimes we have students who haven't had to put any type of study skills into practice, or, they find a subject that just does not click for them. And so we want to kind of normalize the failure experience, and that sometimes we do have to kind of learn the hard way how to utilize some of those resources and study skills and things like that, and that's okay. And finally, there's so much focus on our socializing, the way that our students spend their time and building that those friendships and relationships on campus, and oftentimes that takes a little bit longer than students anticipate. They expect that they're going to come and immediately find that group of friends that they fit in with. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. It sometimes does take a little bit of effort or a little bit of extra time and exploration on the part of the student. And so, we talk a lot about FOMO, fear of missing out, comparing ourselves to other, and social media plays a lot into that. And one of the quotes I use frequently when talking with students about social media is, don't compare your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. Because when we see social media, that sort of filtered, perfectly cropped, staged version of our lives, we want to make sure that we're not, looking at our very boring, normal behind the scenes stuff and trying to compare the two. It's just not equivalent. So talk with your students about that it might take a little bit of time, but to really kind of focus on what are some things that they have in mind as far as, connecting with student groups and organizations, activities, different things that they want to pursue, and it will happen. It will fall into place, but we just want to make sure students have a good idea that it just might take a little bit longer than they expect.
Okay, one of the things that I just need to get off my chest here is that I've had 3 boys in college. The last one is going to be graduating in December, his master's degree in December, so that they will be off the payroll, and you'll understand this as you get along and the students graduate, et cetera, but it's such a relief and a wonderful experience. But having 3 boys, we talked about communication patterns, and some of the things that we adjusted to, things are going to change in a student's life when they get to ECU. They're going to develop new friendships. They're going to develop new study groups. They're going to develop fraternity and sorority life. They're going to develop in intramural sports. They're going to develop student activities and all of that, student government association, being involved in residence halls. Life is happening on a college campus. And if you've texted or contacted or emailed your son or daughter every day, that is going to be different from now on. Doesn't mean that they don't love you any more or any less. It just states that their life is changing, and you as parents have to realize this as well. And so if you've been calling them 2 or 3, 4 or 5 times a day, that's going to probably change to 1 every 2 or 3 days. And you as a parent have to adjust to that life. I'll guarantee, since we started this program, that your son or daughter has probably already texted you and say, "What are we doing for lunch?" Those things are going to change, and so we understand that. One of the things that I like to do is set a time. I set this time with my boys to say, okay, if I can't get up with you on Sundays at 6 o'clock, let's get together. Let's talk. Let's at least do this. So that was the goal. So when they left for college, that's what it was, Sundays at 6. That lasted maybe 2 or 3 weeks because life happens on a college campus. And so we have to understand that and get and develop those time for us as parents. I've been here. I have done this. I understand it. And when my youngest son was in grade school and my son was in college, I had a time where those two just chatted with me out of the room, with my wife out of the room. So it's just one-on-one with siblings. That is so important for the growth, because they may want to get off their chest what's really going on at home, how's life happening, etc. All positive things for those two to talk those through. So I encourage that all the time. Also, the variety of things that can be done to get that attention of your son or daughter. Care packages are an idea. I strongly recommend that every now and then you cut out a clip of a newspaper ad that's because their best friend just scored a touchdown in high school, or they were in the ballet, or etc. And cut those out and send them to your son or daughter. That shows you still have a connect with who they're connecting with back home. You're not in their face about it. It's just one of those thought, hey, thinking of you doing this, etc. So I encourage that. I also encourage care packages to send. Send them popcorn. Popcorn in residence halls is awesome, because when you put it in and you open the door, this wave just goes down the hallway. People start sticking their heads out and say, someone has popcorn. That's a social networking type of thing, so I encourage that all the time anyway. Do not put lasagna in a care package. We had one family that was, because of mom's cooking, they sent it, but it got there on a Thursday, hoping to be picked up on Friday morning to be used Friday night. Well, the student didn't get it until Monday or Tuesday the next week, and it was not a pretty sight when they got that package. So I strongly encourage you to do that. But there will be times when you just do not connect, cannot connect. You're wondering, where are they? What happened? And as Lauren said, their phone may have fallen in the pool while swimming, and so it's a dead battery, etc. And you just don't know, and you start to worry. As parents, we start to worry when we cannot get up with our student on a daily basis. And when they're hundreds and hundreds of miles away, that truly does happen. So here's what I would recommend that you do. I want you to physically, to get in charge of your student, I want you to physically take out a pen and paper and write them a letter. And here's what I want you to say in the letter. If all else fails, here it is. Dear, insert the name of your student right here. We are so proud of you. We know how hard it is to adjust to college life. Since we haven't heard from you in a while, we can only assume that you're making new friends, studying hard, getting involved on campus, and beginning to really enjoy college. Well, we couldn't be happier for you, and your hard work deserves a reward. So here's $50 for you to spend this weekend. Have a great time because you deserve it. Talk to you soon. We love you. Mom, dad, brother, sister, dog, cat, grandma, grandpa, neighbor. Doesn't matter. I want you to physically take it, seal the envelope, put a stamp on it. Stamps are 55 cents now, and your son or daughter's worth 55 cents. And I want you to physically go and mail it. Just do not put any money in the envelope. I guarantee you, when your son or daughter gets this, that they will call you immediately.
So Stephen said the importance of sending letters from home. So we have an opportunity for you to write a letter this summer that we will deliver to your student in their residence hall on the second or third week of class. It's just a program we have called A Few Treasured Words. So you can print this off at home from our website, parents.ec.edu, or send us an email if you don't have access to a printer. Just email us at parents@ec.edu and say what you want to say, and then we'll print it in there for you. But this is just an opportunity to capture the excitement and the emotions and the encouragements that you have this summer for your student to then read at the start of the semester.
Okay, so we're getting close to the end of our program, and we wanted to share our contact information with you. So this is the contact information for our 4 offices. And so if you would like to call or email, you can. We've listed phone numbers and email for Office of Parent and Family Programs, ECU Disability Support Services, and the Dean of Students Office. For the Counseling Center, because you might have questions about pretty sensitive information, or your student might, we would ask that you just give us a call. We don't really take in email that way in terms of asking questions, so just please give us a call, and our phone number is listed there. We also will be having breakout sessions later this afternoon. Parents and Family Program and Disability Support and Counseling will all have additional informational sessions, so please do check that out. And then again, we mentioned it at the beginning, but any questions that you have, please hold on to those for the live questions that will come up in the Q&A in just a few moments.
All right, as we finish up here, this is just a reminder that, this is the first step in a marathon process. It is not a sprint. And sometimes it's hard to keep that in mind, to keep that perspective. But one of the ways that we do that is really focusing on the life cycle of the university. As we have students coming in, we have students graduating, it's so exciting. And so we know that your student has given you so much to be proud of up until this point, but you are going to be amazed at what they are going to do in the future and how much more you're going to be proud of them. And the best way that we can show that is by listening to some encouragement and pieces of advice from one of our graduating classes and their parents. This was filmed a few years ago. It was actually the class of 2018, but we're really excited to share it with you. And so give me just 1 minute for us to switch our sharing and be able to pull up our video. And then after the video, Stephen will close us out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trust your kids. I know it's a big step, sending your kids off to college, but you just got to believe in the lessons that you taught them as children and believe that they're going to do the right thing. So trust your kids.
Parents of incoming freshmen, I would say trust the process, support them, guide them, and know that if they don't contact you, it's more than likely because they're hanging out with friends, they're making connections, they're being, social and, creating memories that will last for the rest of their life.
Just let them know that you're going to be there with all the support and love that you had for them back at home during high school. But just let them come to you if they need anything. This is a really important time in their life.
The separation from your child, it may be a little hard at first. Now just know that you're starting a separation where you're going to back off, and your kids have to take a lot more responsibility for themselves.
Thank you so much. Thank you for praying for me. Thank you for guiding me. I could not have done this without you.
Congratulations. I knew you could do it. She worked very hard. It has been a long road, but we did it.
So my family members, my friends, my teachers, professors, everybody that's helped me along the way, I just want to thank you so much.
My parents have made a lot of sacrifices for me over the years, and this day is for just as much as them it is for me. So I couldn't be more appreciative of everything they've done for me.
I'm so excited to make you guys proud in the future with this degree, and that's my main goal in life, is just to make you guys proud of me.
I am so incredibly proud of you, sweetie. Good job. I love you.
I'm glad we're done. We are too.
I love that phrase. I'm glad we're done. We are too. As parents, you'll understand that for sure. One of my favorite quotes of all time, and I've been a parent for a long time and working on colleges for over 35, 40 years close, is a ship in harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are for. Your son or daughter is coming into an environment that is safe. Yes, it is. But is that what college is for? Is it meant for them to explore, to get off of the port, to get out of the dock, and to get out there and really see what life is about on a college campus? Things that happen, yes, you can do whatever you want and be safe and get a diploma after 4 years. Absolutely, that is not a problem. But that's not what it's for. It's about becoming a well-rounded individual, exploring college life and being involved in activities and organizations and getting involved in your faculty and learning about what college is all about. That's why this quote is so important for all of us, that we started in uncharted waters. And we're growing as an institution, but your son or daughter is going to be growing so much more. When they get back after their first year, you will not recognize them because of the power of that ship going out of port and exploring. And that's going to be your son and daughter. And right before we take a few questions, I just have to state one more thing. I always present in a Hawaiian shirt. And people always ask me, say, Stephen, why do you present in a Hawaiian shirt? And I said, and I'll quote my mom said, dress for the job that you want. And I want to be on vacation for so bad you have no idea. So that's what this is all about. So for the next 10 or so minutes, we're going to open this up for questions for you. We thank you very much and welcome to East Carolina University and the Pirate Nation.